Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are starting at rock bottom, that's okay because rock bottom is a beautiful place to start and build a foundation. It'll be rock solid. And that's what I'm here to do with you today. We're going to go over desire and how to transmute your desires into something more beneficial to you through the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The first quote that I really appreciated was, "He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish." Essentially meaning burn the boat. Sometimes you got to quit the job, right? I just left my job recently. Sometimes you got to quit the job. Sometimes you got to just burn the bridge and make it work because you're not going to give yourself another option. A lot of times our fallback plan tends to be that safety net that doesn't let us become who we're truly destined to be. Now, in this chapter, Napoleon talks about the 6 steps to creating financial riches, basically, like transmuting certain energy into physical riches. Now, first is fixing your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Okay, so sit with yourself, think about, how much money do I want? How much money do I need to live? If I invested X number of dollars, how much money would I need to live the lifestyle I would appreciate for the rest of my life? Okay, that's what we're thinking about. Now, you might not know the math. You might have to get on a calculator. You might have to get on the internet. You can do investment calculators where you could see, once I have X number of dollars invested, like how much will my return be every month if I pull out like 3% or something. So look it up, research it, figure it out. It's okay to look that up and understand it, right? Very important. Next is determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. I know that part of what I desire and the amount of money I desire, I have to give something. There has to be a value exchange. There's no such thing in this planet as something for nothing. So what do I have to do? I have to create something that will be valuable. I'm writing some children's books. I love poetry, so they're kind of like poetry, like fun and cute. Imagery that is really interesting, and I really like that sort of thing. I used to be a teacher, so I love that. And then I'm also going to be creating some courses. I have this YouTube channel. There's all sorts of ways, but you really need to understand what value you're going to deliver to people for that transaction. Because remember, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. That's a literal fact of the universe. So you have to transmute energy and change it and give it, right? Then the 4th step is create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once. This part right here, he even italicized once. This is what I think is so important for us to realize. And if you watched the Michael Jackson movie recently, you remember, or even if you didn't watch the Michael Jackson movie, you've probably heard this quote where Michael Jackson's like channeling something. He's like thinking about what he wants from the universe and he's trying to source that energy. And what does he say? He says, um, I have to act on my ideas. If not, Prince will take it. Which is exactly what happens. Basically, people that truly have their antennas on and are really listening to the outer world, the universe is constantly throwing messages, okay? And some people just absorb messages from social media, from TV, from all these different places, but perhaps you're able to channel it from yourself, from within. However, the way the universe works is, again, that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So it's just popping around until it comes into creation. So what Michael Jackson was essentially saying was that while he's channeling, if he doesn't take the time to use that idea, to capitalize on that thought and create it into reality, then Prince will take it and he'll transmute it faster. So genuinely, you have to act at once. And also, when you act at once, you are acting with people that are on a similar frequency as you. Because I swear on my life that a couple days ago, the thought came to me because I decided I'm going to act at once, like the book says, because it says right here, I have to act at once. I was talking to my friend. I messaged her out of nowhere. We haven't talked in a couple months. Whatever. I reached out and was like, hey, you are the most beautiful writer I know. I've had AI try to write me some things and it's just not as good. I need some help with my creation of my course and writing out the scripts. And I have an idea, I have the baseline, but you're just so much more eloquent with the way you deliver things, right? Because this is very like off the top, spit it out. Not the most classy, I just say things. I'm actually pretty classy, let's be honest. But you know what I mean? I'm just spitting things out, and I'm very blah 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 blah. I'm a little feisty, right? And I want that course to be more professional, more polished, more beautiful, more eloquent. And I want it to be understandable to like a sixth grader, but I do want it to be beautifully written. And she is such a beautiful writer, and I can give her my ideas to, help me transmute that into reality. But the second I text her was the second the idea popped in my mind, because I said, I'm going to act at once. I'm going to follow this book's instructions just like that. You know what she said to me? I kid you not, hand on my heart. She said, no way. My goal this summer was to write every day. She's like, I would love to help you write. And like, I'm going to pay her whatever. But because I don't think anything should be for free, right? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. You have to give energy back and forth. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what Napoleon Hill's talking about. He's talking about creating and operating from that source right away. And the faster you throw it into creation, the more ideas, the more channels, the more open your mind will be to receiving these messages. Even if it's a whisper, even if it's just a gut instinct, you have to act on it, because the faster you act, the faster it will manifest. So I just thought that was so cool. I was like, dang, bro, I really, even getting this book, I was going through something, and I was like, we have to go get this book out of storage today. I was like, I don't know why, I just know I need it. And I acted on that instinct. And that's, I haven't read this book in probably like a year or two. And every time I read it, something different comes out. And I just think it's so important, again, to rep things, rep it every day, rep it as much as you can, because the more you rep weight, right, then you unlock the next level, you unlock the next weight, you grow. And that's why it's so important to do that with your mental scape as well. Make sure you're always repeating things. Make sure you're constantly acting on things, and you practice acting at once. So once you have the idea and you can put the plan into action, you need to start that day, because you need to move fast. Fifth point that he makes: write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. See how he's already repeating the first one? Name the time limit for acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money. He's already repeating the second one. See how much he repeats? And then describe clearly the plan through which you intend to acquire and accumulate it, which is essentially just repeating the fourth thing. So he just is basically saying, do all this, repeat it. And then sixth is where the programming really begins, right? And I don't believe, I know that there are insidious people. Okay, I know that. I know that there's insidious people that use these frameworks to do negative and harm, and to capitalize on you and your attention and your energy, because where attention goes, energy flows. And your energy is currency. It's worth something. It moves. It is worth something, because people can take your energy and transmute it to something else, right? And what I realized is that he says this: read your statement out loud twice daily. Okay, I have multiple statements that I read every day right here. Bob Proctor gave me this. Bob Proctor teaches basically everything in this book as well. I'm about to walk into the most abundant, balanced, wealthy, and successful period of my life. I naturally attract good fortune and am wealthy in more ways than one. I give myself permission to prosper, and I have the power to build the exact life I desire, right? And I read that every single day, multiple times a day, because instead of listening to those insidious people on TV tell me to do this or that, or, watching all these things that influence my subconscious and conscious mind, I am feeding myself. Feed, right? That's what they even call social media. It's your feed. They're feeding you ideas. That's why you get off social media sometimes and you're like, I'm fat. I need a boob job and my nose is too big. No, it's not. You are beautiful just as you are, and just sit and teach yourself what you want to hear, okay? I am about to walk into the most abundant, balanced, wealthy, and successful period of my life. I naturally attract good fortune and am wealthy in more ways than one. I give myself permission to prosper, and I have the power to build the exact life I want. That is what I am putting into my own mind, into my own ears. I even have my statement here for how much money I'm going to have and acquire. And I put that in the book. So every day when I read it and I repeat it, right? I repeat this book over and over again. I'm repping it. I read this to myself. Okay. So I have lots of sticky notes in places, lots of things I'm constantly feeding myself. If you have time to sit on your social media feed, if you have lots of time to sit and watch the TV channel, then you have time and energy to channel your own original beliefs, your own original thoughts, your own original perspectives that you truly desire to manifest, right? Instead of the ideas and the concepts and everything from others. So really deeply consider that. So please read your written statement aloud twice daily, which again is repetition. So he gave us 4 steps essentially. The 5th step was restating all the steps. And the 6th step was to repeat what you wrote 2 times every day. You are repping in your mind what you want to be. It's not going to accidentally happen to me. I have to act as who I'm destined to be. Okay. So the next point that I felt was very interesting in this book is if you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. You need to start seeing yourself as somebody who has money. Okay. Sometimes that means you got to get away from people that are broke. Okay. And I think it's so short-sighted to see this book as simply a book about money. It's honestly stupid to think about this book as just about money, right? Thinking and Growing Rich is not about necessarily cash. It's about a perception of yourself, leveling yourself up, becoming who you want to be, seeing the things you want out of life. That's all this book is teaching. You can use these same principles, right? These same principles of fixing your mind the exact amount of blank you desire. So the exact amount of whatever it is you want. Determine exactly what you intend to do to receive it. Okay, what actions are you going to take? Create a definite plan for getting it. Write a statement and read it aloud twice a day. You can do that with anything. It does not have to be all about money, okay? But money is one form that can come to you. So let's say you want something else. Let's say you want a relationship. Let's say you want a child. Let's say you want whatever it is you want. You need to start this process for that. So don't think that I'm just like money hungry and I'm just greedy or whatever. The truth is that the principles of this form of thinking are what are going to create the life that you want, instead of living a life that maybe you're living for someone else. So deeply consider that part, that everything I'm saying applies to more than just money in the form of currency. The current of energy is still the same, right? So if you want to be happy, you can create these things for being more peaceful and abundant and wealthy or whatever it is you want. But you can determine what it is you want instead of being fed and channeling from TV or being fed from your social media feed, whatever people want you to desire, right? Very important distinction. Next part, the practical dreamers have been and always will be pattern makers of civilization. So I heard Tony Robbins say this, which straight out of this book, but he said something to the effect of that when you create, or everything starts as like you following, right? So I'm following the book, I'm following this. However, the more you begin to create your own system, your own pattern, your own form of thinking or your own frameworks, that there is when you become you become integral to civilization. You start writing books or ideas that could outlive you. Why do you think that Jesus, Buddha, Confucius, all these spiritual leaders, or even like people that are like politicians, like Machiavelli or Aristotle or Socrates, these like philosophers, and Nietzsche, all these like different writers and stuff, they become pattern makers, right? They create something that outlives them. Napoleon Hill became a pattern maker. He created this book, creating a pattern for you to follow so that you could live a life that means something and is important to you. He gave you a pathway, his own original work. So pattern makers will always be incredibly valuable to civilization. Now, perhaps yours is not teaching, right? Maybe yours is something different. But no matter what, you will pass your knowledge to somebody. And if you become a pattern maker and can create your own patterns and your own frameworks, you will have influence over civilization for generations to come. Or maybe not even generations, maybe just your family. Okay, maybe just your family, right? When we think about generations, the most beautiful thing you could be a steward of is your own family. So maybe you can create those ideas and concepts in your own child's mind, and maybe they'll carry it to the next generation, maybe so on and so forth. And maybe it's only within your family, but until you can make your own patterns, will you be able to pass that down? And you want to be able to make your own patterns instead of following generational trauma, which could also be a pattern that maybe you don't want to pass on. So love that quote. The practical dreamers have always been and always will be the pattern makers of civilization. Love that. And I think that, especially as I have a family now, has really become ingrained in my mind. It's very pertinent and it makes a lot of sense to me. The next quote that I absolutely loved is, the greatest achievement was first and for a time but a dream. Okay, right? My greatest achievement would be my child. She was at one point just a dream. Giving this knowledge out was just a dream. Writing books was just a dream, and they're starting to grow. The acorn sleeps in the oak sleeps in the acorn. The bird waits in the egg. And the highest version of the soul, a walking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Now, I love gardening because there are so many spiritual lessons you can learn in the garden, right? It's so important to get into the garden and start gardening, because what you will come to realize is that in the garden, you drop seeds, all around. Just throw them. I throw seeds, and you start to realize how much care they take, how much energy. You see what you have to do to the life cycle of it all. You see that seeds will, like, for instance, I always grow tomatoes, and we'll get a tomato, right? And then from that single tomato, I can have seeds forever, right? That single tomato, if it just falls in the garden, it will start growing from the seeds that dropped more tomato plants. And then from there, more and more and more and more. And they become more habituated to their environment. So they become better seeds. They grow healthier, happier, stronger, more resistant to the climate. It is such a beautiful thing to experience when you're in the garden. If you don't have a garden, I recommend having a small one, very tiny, because there's so much work that if you don't want to take care of it, it's a lot, honestly. But if you can just do a little bit, especially if you have kids, they could start to see that what you reap what you sow. That's something my grandma always said to me and would always preach in my ear. Siembras or cosechas lo que siembras. Cosechas lo que siembras. And she would always just say that whenever she could. I don't know, just random. To me, it was random, but now I'm realizing that was very intentional, and she was planting the seed in my mind that it'll make me cry if I think too much about it. But truly, that she was telling me that every idea you have in your mind will grow, and it's really a choice to decide what you want to grow in your own mind. And I think that, a lot of times she was trying to teach me that deeper message, but I wasn't old enough to understand it until maybe like less than 10 years ago. But it is so pertinent when you realize that every seed you drop here, that's why it's so important to channel what you want, to embody what you want, to dream on what you want. Because if you dream on what other people or listen and let other people feed you and channel for you, you might miss what you really want out of this life. So I just love that saying, you reap what you sow, you reap what you sow. And I think that that's something that this book was saying. Okay, moving on. The next point I want to talk about is the turning point in lives of those who succeed usually comes in a moment of some crisis through which they are introduced to their other selves. So just like in the beginning, I said, you got to burn the boats. But this part right here, oh my God. The second I wanted this book out of storage, I was at a turning point in my life, right? And you come to some crisis, you lose a job, you lose something you thought or you wanted for your life, or you just get thrown off the path that you had desired, right? That's usually a turning point where out of some crisis, out of rock bottom, you can build a beautiful foundation. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. We want to create a foundation from rock bottoms. And sometimes you have to go through that darkness to see who you really are, to see who you want to be, to see who you are embodying. It is so vital that you sit and realize who your other selves truly are. There's just no other way to say it. Now, I also really resonated with this part because they talk about how disappointment over love affairs generally have the effect of driving men to drink and women to ruin. And this because most never learn the art of transmuting their strongest emotion into the dreams of a constructive nature. Okay? So important. Now, you might not be going through a love affair. You might be going through something. He talks later about Helen Keller and how she was, all these things. And despite all that great misfortune, she was able to transmute that negative energy, that negative force against her. And that's why she's such a powerful historical figure, because she, from a young age, understood her power and was able to transmute that energy so effectively. But it is a choice, and it does require an immense amount of emotional control, which a lot of us aren't taught from a very young age. That's why that's something that will be in my course, is emotional control and transmutation, just like it says in this book, because a lot of us are, not that you shouldn't sit with your emotions. I definitely believe in crying. Crying actually releases some hormone or something or other that is literally like stress leaving your body. I believe in it. I understand that feeling your feelings is important, but there does become a point where feeling your feelings can literally kill you. That's how some people transmute this negativity that they're experiencing, and maybe they do something, that we shouldn't say online, but maybe they do something that was short-sighted because they only could that energy was so big, so negative, so dark. And instead of transmuting it and being, another book that we'll go over in the coming weeks, the alchemist of their own life, what they did instead was they took that lead. Oh my God, this is so dark. I just had an epiphany. So in the alchemist, it's in alchemy, you're basically taking lead and turning it to gold, right? But some people don't understand and take the lead to their head, if you know what I'm trying to say, which is so sad because they have all this negative energy, this dark, fat chunk of lead, and they take it straight to the head and they're gone. And they didn't take the opportunity to transmute that lead into gold. And when you can do that, you become the alchemist, or the true, like, you discover who you are, right? That's what the alchemist is all about. You discover exactly who you are. So, wow, lead to the head is crazy. Damn. That was good. That was honestly, sometimes I just gotta, girl, I ate that up. Okay, moving on. So, no one ever is defeated until defeat has been accepted as reality. He even made the point to italicize that. Love it. No one ever is defeated until defeat has been accepted as reality. One thing about me, honey, is I know that a couple L's, like literally a couple L's, make a W. So sometimes you got to take a few losses. That's what I always used to tell my students, honey, you're going to lose some, you're going to win some. But the truth is sometimes you got to take more L's than W's. But over time, those L's start to look a lot like a W. So never forget this. Your L's are W's in disguise. That's why my grandma, whenever anything bad happens to her, she's like, I'm going to the casino. And like, I don't believe in gambling and like, don't gamble, whatever. Maybe one day I will. Who knows? My grandma's a pretty smart lady, but you know, gambling's not my thing. But she sees that as a way to transmute whatever happened to her, and she sees it taking a couple L's, and then she's like, "It's time for me to go to the casino." And I love that for her. I love that she is able to take her losses and, in her mind, transmute it into a win. So super fun. Love that concept. Next is, no one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. Again, no one is ready, is italicized. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. So until you really believe what you're telling yourself in your head, it does start with gaslighting. I will say, this is why, like, a lot of you guys will listen to your toxic boyfriends or whatever, and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm so ugly, I'm so fat. They have you looking in the mirror going, I don't even know who I am anymore. Why did he do that to me? And you look at yourself like that, and girls, stop. Hello, no. Girl, boy, they, them, I don't care what you are, okay? Sit with yourself and remember who you are, okay, honey? You are them. They are you. And the truth is that you need to believe it. And the truth is that they started by gaslighting you. They started gaslighting you and telling you like, oh, well, you're not worth anything. You're this or that. You deserve this. I hit you because I love you, girl. And you believed it. You believed it. Okay, why did you believe it? That was your choice to believe, but you got gaslight so much. You got gaslit that you started to internalize that. So gaslight yourself, right? I write to myself all the things I want out of life, right? And maybe right now, in theory, my life doesn't look like it's perfect, but I'm writing to myself and I'm repeating and I'm absorbing and I'm channeling and I'm constantly telling myself these things. I'm feeding it to myself. Feed yourself something that at first might not be true, but with time, it'll come to you. All right, let's keep moving on. Remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity that is required to accept misery and poverty. So, you don't have to accept what you don't want, okay? You don't have to sit in something that doesn't make you happy. If you aim high, it is just the same as aiming low. Aim super, super high, honey. Whatever they tell you, higher, okay? Higher. And if somebody tries to tell you who you are, remind them who you are, okay? If someone tries to lower your standards, tell them, if you just can't reach that, that's okay with me. Not everybody's for me. What's meant to be is meant for me, And if that doesn't work for you, if you can't do that, that's okay. I understand. That's not a problem. And you leave it at that. Don't ever, ever start questioning who you are. Desire is what's going to pull you through. Now let's move on to the next one. I knew my endeavor to plant in a child's mind an attitude of faith in himself had been successful. So in this book, he talks about how his son wasn't able to hear and how over time they found a solution for it and how he had planted in his child the idea that he could. And I just think that's so powerful, and that that's something that I'm thinking a lot about moving forward is my daughter. And I hope my daughter's watching this video maybe one day when she's older and actually cares, or maybe she'll be like, oh, Mom, I don't care. But point being, I'm very intentional now about what I'm planting in my daughter's mind. I have to be careful. You have to be intentional. If you have children, don't forget to teach them to think and grow rich and not to focus on the negative, the poverty mind, the lack of ambition, the lack of standards, the lack of respect for oneself. It's very important that we teach them through proximity, because monkey see, monkey do, what we want them to do. So I must embody what I want my daughter to be. I must act in a way that feels in accordance with what would teach her to think and grow rich. So that's chapter 2, desire. Over the next few weeks, we will be going through all the chapters and discussing how I've internalized them, how you might be able to use them. I'll have some anecdotes, some little stories. And if that sounds interesting to you, please continue to follow. I will have a course soon, probably Q4, maybe Q1 of next year. I need to create more definite plans on that. I started building that out today. So yeah, we're gonna write that out, and probably Q4 it will come out. Maybe Q1, because I think that's a time when more people are starting to really come to terms with who they want to be. Yes, actually, we're gonna do Q1. I love Q1. Now that I talked this out with you guys, thank you so much. We're gonna do Q1 next year. We're currently in Q3 right now, something like that. And I want to make sure that we are focusing on what we want out of our future, out of our life. And I'm going to help you discover who you are. We're going to talk about transmuting energy, money as a currency, you know, where attention goes, energy flows, money that moves, and how to create wealth that sticks. We will also talk about emotional control, like I said, transmutation and all that as well. We will also discuss spiritual and mental clarity and space in your mind, and how to channel and feed yourself the things that will make your life whatever you want. I'm not here to teach you to be like me. I'm here to help you discover who you are. So again, if you're a rock bottom, it's a perfect place for a foundation. It's pretty rock solid. So rep it, baby. Take care.